Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today we are thinking about unicorns. Yes. I know. This is a topic that we all really needed to break down and understand what is going on with unicorns. So luckily for me, I have Walter on my show who has written a book about unicorns. Yes, the truth, the mythology, everything in between, all of the goodness. So I guess to just rip off that band-aid, Walter, what got you into unicorns that made you want to write a book?
When my daughters were very young, they kept on asking me to tell them a story that was my story, not a story from a book or a story from a legend. So I created a story, and because they were young, it was a story about a unicorn. Well, this story had some legs to it, and I started writing out the story for adults because any story involving traveling with a unicorn really should be an adult story if you think about some of the myths. So I did a lot of research and I got the novel published. The Garden at the Roof of the World with Dragonwell Publishing. But the publisher noticed that I had put in a lot of research into the background, the backstory, the mythology, etc. And so after a few years, the publisher approached me, "Hey, Walt, would you like to write a companion piece? Maybe something about unicorns." And I said, "Really?" They said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, this will be fun." And it turned into my COVID project. And so right in the middle of COVID, there I am going after my work day, going downstairs each day and writing. And eventually we came up with this. Um, I learned a few things along the way, but unicorns, it turns out, are real. And I was flabbergasted when I started. I did not know that. Back about 13 to 15,000 years ago, there was a very, very large beast, Lasmitherium, distant relative to the rhinoceros, except the horn grew out of the forehead, not out of the nose. And this thing was huge. It was the size of a mastodon, which is bigger than an elephant, and it used to roam Europe and Asia. And we have a photograph, sorry, not a photograph, a cave drawing from one of the caves in France from somebody who saw a unicorn or a Lasmitherium about 13 to 15,000 years ago. And the fun thing is that if you do the research and you read the ancient Persian or the ancient Greek descriptions of a unicorn, they are describing a Lasmitherium. And that's just kind of amazing. And
Mhm.
even more amazing, although this one boggles my mind. 800 years ago, Marco Polo went to India, and he was either drunk or he was describing a unicorn or a Lasmitherium, because his description of what he saw is either a very drunken depiction of a rhinoceros or a spot-on depiction of the Lasmitherium.
That's
And
crazy.
to think that they might have survived until 800 years ago is just mind boggling. Of course, that's pure speculation. We have no evidence other than Marco Polo's descriptions. But strangely enough, while he was a bigot and a fool, his descriptions of things tend to be surprisingly accurate. And so I had a lot of fun writing the book and learned an awful lot about how those stories, depictions of unicorn by the Greeks and the Persians, got turned into the myths that we all know and love today.
That's crazy. I love that you were able to find the truth out of the myth. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And that's the beauty of it. And when I was reading just the title alone, I was like, he must have found something. He must have found something that the world didn't really know to be able to write this book. And that was the key, I think.
yeah. There were some people, scholars, who knew this, but it had never reached the popular imagination. Everybody thinks unicorn is an imaginary creature, often a horse-like being with a horn on the forehead. And in childhood, you think of unicorn as cute and loving. And this thing was huge and ferocious and frankly, downright scary to our
Mhm.
ancestors. And the fun thing is that the early myths of unicorns depicted as huge and scary, um, though amazing. Um, the I think it's the Talmud, or it could be the Torah. I'm not exactly a scholar, and I haven't read my own book in about a year, so I'm forgetting. Has the unicorn as one of the four animals of the tabernacle. We have the unicorn showing up in ancient Coptic legends. We have the unicorn showing up in all sorts of odd places before sometime in the medieval era. Hildegard of Bingen got a hold of the idea of a unicorn being a beast that could cure poisons.
Hmm.
And she was a brilliant woman who did so many amazing things that people listened to her even when she spouted nonsense. And this was a bit of creative nonsense on her part. But from that, the idea of unicorn completely changed. And so you started to see unicorns becoming allegorical to Jesus within Christianity, while before it was a demonic creature that would drive people into the underworld in Coptic myth or in um, and associated with let's see the cult of Ishtar or Ereshkigal in ancient Mesopotamian mythology, and of course one of the creatures of the tabernacle in Judaism.
I had no idea about that. To be honest, I had no idea that that was even a thing that they even related unicorns in that way in so many different religions and cultures and so many different type of centuries, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
it just shows that and they needed to switch the perspective of unicorns because to have this ferocious beast is not willing to possibly cure diseases, you know, so maybe that's another reason why they did. I don't obviously I'm far from knowing any type of knowledge on this, but I think that's kind of crazy how they flipped it to be
yeah.
this pink, fluffy, marshmallow looking, you know, cuteness that everybody loves because I just finished buying a marshmallow, not a marshmallow, a unicorn bath set for my niece.
Oh,
And
cute.
yeah, and I was just like, I wonder. It's they probably don't even look like this because then they made a movie. I don't know if you've seen it, but the new Flash movie actually has unicorns as a very like vicious creature.
Wow.
They demonstrate the unicorn not to be like it's what people imagine it to be, and I think it was kind of cool because it was a dark, very tall, big, you know, dramatic being, and I was just like, man, imagine if they were really that big. But the way that you described it, you were just like, yeah, they were big. They were bigger than big. They were
They
bigger than
were
what people could even imagine, and the fact they became extinct, they were just like, yeah, this is too unreal. We can't put this together and call it a unicorn, pass it along. And now it's in the imagination and the myth era of our lives. You know, so I'm curious, what's the biggest myth that you heard that was just like, goodness, this is crazy?
um, if you read the biography of Genghis Khan,
Okay.
um, he was in the process of moving his armies across Tibet in order to invade India. And he comes across the unicorn standing in his way. And he approaches the unicorn, and the unicorn bows and does homage to him. And he asks for his advisors, what should he do? And they say, the unicorn is telling you, do not cross into India. Go elsewhere. It will not be good for you if you cross into India. And so Genghis Khan, who conquered everywhere else he went, turned his armies around and went back across the mountain passes through Nepal and did not attack India. And that myth just blew my mind that Genghis Khan would listen to a unicorn, which in Asian mythology is believed to be a messenger of the gods, and turn around and not attack India. Um,
Hmm,
Breathtaking.
interesting.
And the
Yeah.
big question is exactly what is it that he encountered? That was it an elasmotherium? Or perhaps was it one of the sheep that people in Nepal they alter the sheep's the way the horns grow from the sheep so that they fuse together into this very solid horn, And this is done even today. And did he come across one of those and think it was the messenger from the gods? Unknown.
Wow. That's true. That's
But
crazy. Oh my goodness, I'm loving this. It's like the History Channel, right? Just right in front of me. I love this. I think this is such a great topic because I think when more people realize the fantasy that we created just makes that statement that sometimes we allow ourselves to believe to what's fantasy, so it's acceptable into our hearts and our environments and into our lives. In reality, it's just sometimes it's like we need to accept the fact of the truth. So I love the fact that you wrote this book and that you're sharing it to the world. I mean, I guess my next question is, do you think people will start like seeing unicorns in a different way? Or do you think unicorns will always be this marshmallow pink fluffy thing for all of life?
I think for the moment, um, we're going to see a lot of pink, fluffy marshmallow unicorns marketed to our children. Um, it's a very become a very powerful metaphor for innocence and joy, and that's something that young children just eat up. So why stop that just because they have a history of being something dangerous and dark and deadly? Um, Let our children have those pink fluffy unicorns and give them big hugs upon their birthday, and that doesn't stop us from knowing the history of them. That doesn't stop us from understanding that when our ancestors saw them, they weren't saying, "Oh, how cute." They were saying, "Oh, damn, I got to get out of here fast because if that thing's running at me, I'm in trouble."
Yeah, that's true. I like the way that you put that, let the innocence to be where it's at in the children and allow it to be how they portray it. Because once we become an adult and we face reality and we have our own hardships and, our own struggles, and we start to do our own research because, we as adults seek that fact, that having that factual to guide us and to continue forward. So once we acknowledge the fact that, oh, they're actually very ferocious, vicious, humongous beings, and you can have a little bit more respect for those, for what they were. Just like you said, they were seen in so many different ways in so many different cultures and in different centuries. So no matter where you're seeing it from, you have some type of respect for what it is.
Yeah, this way, when you see a unicorn on the top of the State House in Boston, or on the Royal Crest in Scotland, or if you see a unicorn in Japan or China, you understand that um, people were doing homage to something that was awesome and amazing and powerful
Yeah.
breathtaking. In the East, a messenger from the gods. In the West, a harbinger of something true and virtuous, something that only the purest could find. And that's, by the way, where it became something for children, because we mistakenly think that only our children can be pure. We
Yeah.
forgot to challenge ourselves to be pure of heart as we grow up into the world. And we've just given in to the idea that none of us are worthy, when the core of the unicorn message is that we are all worthy
Mm.
if we just seek for one. And part of that comes from in Western Europe. There came a point where you had this silly notion that the only people who could seek out and find unicorns were virgins. And
Okay.
very few adults past a certain age are virgins. And that was never part of the unicorn myth until very late in development.
Mm.
Um, it initially was about purity, but that was, of course, after it was something that you did not want to see. So the transformation of the myth from this is a dark and dangerous creature that the devil sends to drive souls into hell, to a creature that will cure poison, to a creature that only the pure can seek out, to a creature that you have to be a virgin. And the ultimate proof of your virginity is that a unicorn will place its head into your lap. is a very, very striking change in mythology. And it really has a lot to do with um, twisted values in Western society that um, thought virginity was some sort of marker of purity when it's
Yeah.
just a marker of inexperience.
Yes, I like the way that you said that. That's very true. It really is a marker of inexperience because innocence can be at any age, really. It just depends on your mindset, you know. Anyone's mindset can be tainted at any age, you know,
It,
and people don't realize that.
yeah. And that's why if you follow me on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or any other social media, you'll see periodically I'm posting up photographs of beautiful landscapes. And with that, I'll post a comment, still haven't found a unicorn. And part of that is, I go out into the world and I see beauty around me. And why wouldn't I find a unicorn in the midst of that? Why stop looking?
Yeah,
I may be old and grizzled with a gray beard, but I can still search for the impossible and
yeah.
still look for it amongst the beauty of the world we live in and have fun with it.
Exactly. Have fun with it. I think that's the beauty of unicorns. It just not only does it represent, like you just said, purity, innocence, that virtue, but it also gives you that chance to be creative. You know what I mean? If it
Mhm,
doesn't exist then or anymore, then allows you to be creative and allow it to be whatever that you want it to be, and I think having that creativity and that imagination is what we need to hold on to because like you said, you can find a unicorn in any landscape, in any situation. It just depends what you want to label your unicorn to be,
mhm.
at that given point. So I think that's truly something special. And I'm curious, are you writing anything else? Are you working
I've
on anything else?
I am. First of all, I've got a new novel coming out in February that's got nothing to do with unicorns.
It's
Matter of
okay.
fact, Johnny Tanner and the Goddess of Love and War is a fun, fun, fun detective story.
Okay.
Um, and I've got that same publisher that put out the Unicorn books
Mhm.
has asked me to write two more. So I'm doing something about, well, if you were to time travel back to the 13th century, what would it be like? Um, what would it look like? How would people act? And so I've got two books in process that's meant to be take history, which most people think is dry and dreary and all
Yeah.
about who killed who and what battle when, and turn it into something fun. So if you were walking through Timbuktu in 1250 CE, what would you find? What would it look like? What would it smell like?
Yeah.
So history can be a lot of fun if you just put a little bit of a twist onto it, and so
Exactly.
that's what I'm trying to do with those two books there. And obviously, I'm very, very excited about this one. Something completely new and different for me. It's a story about a detective who has an unusual way of solving mysteries. And one night he comes home. His He hasn't been making good progress on the case he's working on, and there's this beautiful woman in a bloodstained dress in his apartment, and she's reminding him of a drunken promise he made to help her, which he can't remember because he really was drunk. And so he takes the case, and it's a wild ride from there on.
I know. I was reading a little bit when I got the little the description of everything. I was like, wow, that seems interesting because she force him to take the case kind of as well.
She kind of twists his arm,
Yeah,
reminds
like she
him,
forces him. And yeah, that's what the part that drives me crazy is because she's not the type of person that would even seek help from the description from my I don't want to give it away too much because I
yeah,
want people to go get the book because does seem interesting.
yeah,
I believe I'm even gonna get the book because you gotta
awesome,
get those twists. You know what I mean? You gotta
yeah.
get those books that have suspense and thriller because it makes you think, it makes you wonder. And like you said earlier, sometimes when you have that shift of perspective, it
Mhm.
truly changes the way that you perceive it, the way you understand it, the way that you just everything going forward. It's like a ripple effect in your life. So the
Yeah.
fact that you're changing the way that people see history and trying to
Mhm.
refocus on everything else that people really do focus on when they are living, I mean, that's that's what we need again, you know. And as an author, I mean, how hard is it for you to tap into that when you go into your writing mode, or is it just like one, two, three, easy peasy?
There are some days where the everyday wears on you, and it's difficult. I'm fortunate that I have a delightful partner with my wife of 34 years, Margot. She rejuvenates me. A smile and a hug puts joy back in my heart, and that allows me to sit down and just play. When it's done well, is just let's pretend. But it can be let's pretend about some amazingly different things. It can be a let's pretend we can go back in time and visit Constantinople in the 12th, in the 13th century, or it could be a let's pretend that unicorns still walked the earth, and the eldest of them needed the help of a young woman in Brittany. Or it could be let's pretend that this incredibly gifted woman is suddenly very desperate and reaching out for help to the only person she thinks who can help her. And he really can help her, but it's going to be a wild ride.
Mm-mm-mm.
And, you know, it's part of the fun that I have in my life is I haven't stopped playing. Words are fun toys, and stories are a great way to just kick back, relax, and have a good time.
Yes, yes, I absolutely believe that. It's a way to be free. You know what I
Yes,
mean? It's a way to be free where there's literally no consequences because you're the one doing everything. You're the puppeteer, the one that's causing every death, every illness, every